Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. Thank you for being here. Many times I ask myself, what happened at Katrina? Who was there? Who was actually on the grounds when this terrible, emergency, horrific event happened? And a few years ago, I was in an art gallery, and I met Alystar McKenneh, filmmaker, writer, producer, advocate of many things, who's on a 10,000-mile adventure that begins in April called Road to Sturgis. She is the producer, writer, and director of Peacekeepers, which you'll hear a lot about and see a lot about. And I asked her if she would come here today to share with us her experience of what it was like to be in Katrina 5 days after. Please welcome to It's Rainmaking Time, Alystar McKenneh.
Hi.
Thanks for being here.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
The first thing that struck me that was fascinating about you was your sharing with me your experience of being in Katrina 5 days after, and all the pictures you have and all the documentation you took and your live experience on the ground there with the people, with the emergency teams. I'd like you to share with us what that was like, because I don't think most of us have a real glimpse into what an emergency disaster condition is like.
It's like being on a film set. Seriously.
That's
it's
scary.
Like being on a sci-fi film set. Everything is torn up. Everything is disarray. You know, when I actually was watching it on television, and I saw a film crew pass by a house. They were in a boat. And a dog came out on the roof and started barking at them. And I thought, okay, get the shot, pick up the dog. Get the shot, pick up the dog. They didn't pick up the dog. I was very mad. And I was stomping and pacing in front of my television. And my boyfriend said, why don't you go help? That's what you do. Go. So I packed up my motorcycle and I went. And I ride a Harley Davidson Heritage Softail. And I drove to New Orleans. I live in Los Angeles. And when I got there, I drove through 40 miles of backed up traffic on the freeway. Thank God I was on a motorcycle, because I just lane split right through the middle of them. The army, the telephone company, you know, semi-trucks with food, with water, all the things. I just went right through, went to a police station, went in there and I said, listen, the first guy I saw, listen, I came to help. He said, well, I don't know what to do with you. I said, well, does somebody need help? Do you need, obviously you need something, because everything, I'm telling you, for miles before I got there, everything was a mess. There were boats, big, large boats, not little boats in the middle of the freeway. There were trees that were torn up and laying on their sides, and they had pulled up all of the ground around them. So when you walked past them, it was like walking past a mountain of just I mean, it was dirt and their whole root system. Unbelievable stuff. Every sign was gone. Every roof was gone. I saw an entire roof of a house in a tree. The tree was still standing, and up on the tree was the roof, way up in the air. Anyhow, I told him I was going to go sit down. You figure it out. I'm going to go sit over there. And a few minutes later, a woman came in and said she needed help with a bird. She had a seabird in her front yard. So I said, I'm the girl for you. I went with her, and thank God this woman was a tour guide for the city of New Orleans. Because once we dealt with her bird, we went to Pass Christian, Mississippi, which is right next to New Orleans.
About how many miles away, do you know, or how long by
I'm
time?
I'm going to say, maybe 25, 30 miles. Okay. And it was destroyed. It was completely gone. And there were just piles of houses and animals running everywhere. And when we got to the gate, she told the army guy, listen, she's here to rescue animals. So they just turned me loose, me and my motorcycle. I lived on top of that motorcycle. The army brought me 2 boxes of MREs, which is military food. And
by the way, how was it?
It was good. They make
how do you cook
they
military
make good chow.
Food?
Well, I didn't. No, you don't. I mean, because it's ready to go. You can warm it up.
What is it, like cornflakes or what
are
we talking about?
There's pasta, there's lasagna, there's these wonderful just mixed meals, fettuccine, all kinds of good stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, I could actually put it on my motorcycle, heat it up, on my pipes, and I'd have warm
Pipes?
food.
Did you say pipes?
Yeah, well, yeah, my motorcycle pipes.
That's how you heat food?
Yeah.
I've heard it all
Yeah.
now. I've heard it all. I'm going to
Well-
bake bread on my top of my
listen,
car.
But there wasn't anything. I mean, there was nothing. The military had cots laying next to me. We were actually located at this little gas station that was no longer a gas station on a corner. Pretty much the only clear spot in the area. Military was there. The trucks would come in there, and and I parked my motorcycle there. I slept on top of her, warmed up my MREs, and it was good. It was good. It was like camping in a war zone.
Were people crying? Were people lost looking? Were they forlorn? I mean, what was your experience?
They were shocked. The people that actually lived there were shocked. There were people still living on their porches because obviously they couldn't enter their houses. Everything had fallen inside their houses, right? And it almost looked like somebody had picked up their house, shook it, and then set it back down, if it was even on the same property. There were houses that had floated into the street and were sitting in the middle of streets, especially in the Ninth Ward. The first people I saw, actually the military came and got me and said there was a guy is living on his porch. No, this is 5 days after. This was the first day I got there. I arrived. He was living on his porch, wouldn't go anywhere without his dogs because his dogs had saved his life and his mother and father's. And so they told me where to go. They couldn't take me, but they told me where to go. And I got over there. And fortunately, my motorcycle was one of the only vehicles that could actually get through this massive tangle of houses and cars and stuff. I got there. I doctored his dog. And he only had a pair of pajamas on, no shoes, no nothing. He couldn't actually walk away from it. And so I put him on my motorcycle. I took him over. I got him some MREs. I took him over to another spot outside of the pass, is what they call it, outside of the pass. And he got some actual clothing, took a shower, got some medication for himself because everybody had odd skin issues there that had been in that water. And this guy had spent, in the morning is when his dogs woke him up. He went and looked at the window, and it was already halfway
Oh, my God.
to the window of his house. So he ran and woke his parents up, and they got them upstairs, up on into the attic. The water then broke through and came up, and they ended up busting a hole in the roof of the house and staying on the roof for, I think, 11 hours. And his mother and dad are very old. And they were getting really cold, and so they sort of tucked them back inside the house because the water was
Dissipating?
into the attic. No, it was into the attic, but it hadn't gone up into the very top. So he had tucked his mom and his dad in there, and they had stayed there for so long they were just frozen. His mom was in this little nightie. I think the mom and dad were, I'm going to say, mid-70s. But then when the water went down, they went down too, and they had stayed there. I mean, they had to wait for somebody to come rescue them because there was nowhere to go, no place to go, no vehicles, no roads, no houses.
Was it all flooded?
Yeah, it was all flooded. Yeah, and once the water went back to the ocean, because this is not the Ninth Ward, this is past Christian. This was a surge from the ocean. This wasn't the dam breaking, Anyhow, so I took him on my motorcycle, and we got the stuff. We got clothing, and I took him back. And, when they started evacuating people, they wouldn't evacuate the animals.
I never understood that.
Well-
How can people leave their animals behind? I mean, emotionally, I don't see people being able to do that.
A lot of people didn't. A lot of people stayed on those porches, lived with those animals until help came.